In the annals of crime, few names evoke the chilling blend of fear and fascination like Pablo Escobar. His story is one of ambition, ruthlessness, and a relentless pursuit of power that left an indelible mark on Colombia and the world. Born into poverty in rural Colombia, Escobar rose to become the world's most notorious drug lord. His early life was marked by hardship and a fierce determination to escape the clutches of poverty. From a young age, Escobar displayed a knack for business, albeit through illegal means. He started with petty crimes such as selling contraband cigarettes and fake lottery tickets, but his ambitions were far greater. His cartel, a ruthless enterprise fueled by cocaine profits, held Colombia hostage for decades. The Medellín Cartel, under Escobar's leadership, became a well-oiled machine, producing and distributing vast quantities of cocaine. The cartel's operations were sophisticated and far-reaching, involving a network of loyal associates and corrupt officials who ensured the smooth flow of drugs from Colombia to the United States and beyond. Escobar's wealth was legendary, but it was built on a foundation of violence and corruption that shattered Colombian society. His opulent lifestyle, complete with luxurious estates, private zoos, and extravagant parties, stood in stark contrast to the violence and suffering he inflicted on his country. Escobar's money bought him power and influence, but it also fueled a cycle of brutality that left countless victims in its wake. Judges and journalists were assassinated, politicians were bribed or threatened, and ordinary citizens lived in the shadow of car bombs and kidnappings. Escobar's reign of terror was marked by a ruthless campaign to eliminate anyone who stood in his way. The judiciary, the press, and the political establishment were all targets of his wrath. Fear permeated every corner of Colombian society as people lived in constant dread of the next act of violence. Escobar's reign of terror left an indelible mark on Colombia, a wound that continues to heal even today. The scars of his actions are still visible in the collective memory of the nation. Memorials and monuments stand as somber reminders of the lives lost and the trauma endured. The legacy of Escobar's violence is a painful chapter in Colombia's history, one that the country continues to grapple with as it seeks to move forward. By the late 1980s, Escobar's Medellín Cartel had become a global criminal empire. The cartel's influence extended far beyond Colombia's borders, reaching into the United States, Europe, and other parts of the world. The international drug trade brought immense wealth to Escobar and his associates, but it also brought increased scrutiny and pressure from law enforcement agencies around the globe. Cocaine flowed from Colombia to the United States and beyond, fueling addiction and violence in its wake. The drug epidemic of the 1980s had devastating effects on communities across the United States. Crime rates soared, and the social fabric of many neighborhoods was torn apart by the scourge of addiction. The demand for cocaine created a lucrative market that Escobar was more than willing to supply, regardless of the human cost. Escobar's wealth and power seemed limitless, and his grip on Colombia appeared unbreakable. His ability to evade capture and continue his operations despite the efforts of law enforcement was a testament to his cunning and resourcefulness. Escobar's influence permeated every level of society, from the highest echelons of government to the streets of Medellín. His name became synonymous with both fear and admiration, as he was seen by some as a Robin Hood figure who used his wealth to help the poor. The Colombian government, weakened by corruption and intimidation, seemed powerless to stop him. Efforts to bring Escobar to justice were hampered by a lack of resources, widespread corruption, and the constant threat of violence. Politicians and law enforcement officials who dared to oppose him often found themselves targets of his wrath. The government's inability to effectively combat the cartel's influence left many Colombians feeling hopeless and abandoned. It was in this desperate hour that two American agents, Javier Peña and Steve Murphy, arrived in Colombia, tasked with a seemingly impossible mission to bring Pablo Escobar to justice. Their arrival marked the beginning of a new chapter in the fight against the Medellín Cartel. With determination and a deep sense of duty, Peña and Murphy embarked on a dangerous journey to dismantle Escobar's empire. Their efforts, along with those of their Colombian counterparts, would eventually lead to the downfall of one of the most infamous criminals in history. Javier Peña and Steve Murphy were an unlikely duo, drawn together by fate and the war on drugs. Peña, a Texas native of Mexican descent, was a seasoned DEA agent with years of experience on the streets. Peña's journey in law enforcement began in the rugged terrains of Texas, where he honed his skills and developed a deep understanding of the complexities of drug trafficking. His background and heritage gave him a unique perspective and an edge in dealing with the Hispanic communities affected by the drug trade. Fluent in Spanish and possessing an innate understanding of Latin American culture, Peña was not just an agent, he was a bridge between two worlds. His ability to communicate effectively and empathize with the local populace made him an invaluable asset in the fight against drug cartels. Murphy, on the other hand, was a fresh-faced agent from West Virginia, eager to prove himself in the field. His journey into law enforcement was driven by a strong sense of duty and a desire to make a tangible difference in the world. With a sharp mind for tactics and strategy, Murphy quickly established himself as a skilled investigator. His analytical skills and methodical approach to problem-solving complemented Peña's street-smart instincts, creating a dynamic partnership. Despite their differences, Peña and Murphy shared a common goal: to dismantle Escobar's empire and end his reign of terror. Their mission was fraught with danger, but their determination and resilience kept them focused on their objective. Peña's journey to Colombia began in Laredo, Texas, where he cut his teeth on the front lines of the drug war. The experiences he gained there, dealing with the harsh realities of drug trafficking, prepared him for the challenges he would face in Colombia. He witnessed firsthand the devastating impact of cocaine trafficking on communities and families. The destruction and despair he saw fueled his resolve to combat the drug trade and bring justice to those affected. Murphy, hailing from a small town, was drawn to law enforcement by a sense of duty and justice. His upbringing in a close-knit community instilled in him the values of integrity and service, which he carried with him into his career with the DEA. He saw the DEA as a way to make a difference in the world. The rigorous training and the oath he took solidified his commitment to the cause, and he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Little did they know that their paths would lead them to the heart of the Colombian drug war, where they would face challenges and dangers they could never have imagined. The journey was perilous, but their combined skills and unwavering determination made them a formidable team. Together, they navigated the treacherous landscape of Colombia, forging alliances and taking on one of the most dangerous drug lords in history. Their story is a testament to the power of partnership and the relentless pursuit of justice. Arriving in Bogotá, Colombia, Peña and Murphy were immediately struck by the palpable tension that gripped the city. The streets were bustling with activity, yet there was an underlying current of fear and uncertainty that was impossible to ignore. Every corner seemed to hold a secret, every face a story of survival in a city under siege. The threat of violence hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the stakes involved. The presence of security forces was ubiquitous, yet their ability to maintain order seemed tenuous at best. The people of Bogotá lived in a state of perpetual anxiety, their daily lives overshadowed by the looming specter of cartel violence. They quickly realized that this was not a conventional war, but a complex and shadowy conflict fought in the streets, the courts, and the halls of power. It was a battle where the lines between right and wrong were often blurred, and where the rules of engagement were constantly shifting. The cartels wielded power not just through brute force, but through a sophisticated network of influence and intimidation. The Colombian justice system was riddled with corruption, and Escobar's influence seemed to permeate every level of society. Judges, politicians, and law enforcement officials were often in the pocket of the cartels, making it nearly impossible to achieve any semblance of justice. The very institutions that were supposed to protect the people had become tools of oppression and control. To navigate this treacherous landscape, Peña and Murphy knew they had to build trust, not only with their Colombian counterparts, but also with informants and even former enemies of Escobar. They had to forge alliances in the most unlikely of places, understanding that in this war, today's enemy could be tomorrow's ally. It was a delicate dance of diplomacy and deception, where one wrong move could spell disaster. They learned to speak the language of the streets, to decipher the codes and signals of the underworld. This was a world where information was power, and where trust was a rare and precious commodity. Peña and Murphy had to immerse themselves in the culture of Bogotá, gaining the trust of those who lived in the shadows and operated outside the law. They discovered that information was the most valuable currency in their fight against Escobar, and they were willing to go to great lengths to obtain it. Every piece of intelligence, no matter how small, could be the key to dismantling the cartel's operations. They spent countless hours poring over documents, analyzing data, and conducting covert meetings, always aware that their lives were on the line. In the end, it was their relentless pursuit of the truth that would make the difference in this high-stakes game of cat and mouse. Central to Peña and Murphy's efforts was the Colombian Search Bloc, a special unit created specifically to hunt down Escobar and dismantle his cartel. Composed of elite Colombian police and military personnel, the Search Bloc was known for its bravery and unwavering determination. These men and women risked their lives every day, facing down Escobar's assassins and enduring unimaginable hardships in their pursuit of justice. The bond between the American agents and the Search Bloc ran deep, forged in shared danger and a common purpose. Peña and Murphy witnessed firsthand the sacrifices made by their Colombian counterparts, the families torn apart by Escobar's violence, the unwavering courage in the face of overwhelming odds. It was a partnership built on mutual respect and a shared belief that Escobar's reign of terror had to end. The manhunt for Pablo Escobar was a relentless game of cat and mouse, fraught with danger and punctuated by moments of both triumph and tragedy. Peña and Murphy found themselves in countless close calls, narrowly escaping ambushes and surviving attempts on their lives. They witnessed the brutal efficiency of Escobar's sicarios, the young assassins who carried out his bloody bidding. One particularly harrowing incident involved a bombing at the DEA office in Bogotá. The explosion ripped through the building, killing and injuring dozens of people. Peña and Murphy, by sheer luck, were not in the office at the time. The bombing was a stark reminder of the risks they faced and the personal toll the manhunt was taking. It also fueled their determination to bring Escobar to justice, no matter the cost.